two vertical lines are basically mid-clavicular line to mid-inguinal point. There are two lines like this on both the sides, and there are two horizontal planes. One is the transpyloric plane, which is midway between xiphisternum and umbilicus, and transtubercular plane. So today we will be discussing history taking in abdominal case. History taking and clinical examination is an art, and this is an art which you have to perfect. So the principle of history taking is not just in a random fashion. It should be directed towards forming a certain diagnosis and forming management plan accordingly. So in history taking, you have to identify the reason of consultation. The reason was pain upper abdomen, so which is basically the chief complaint. And you have to identify the duration and evolution of the problem. How, what is the duration, how it has evolved over the time. You should recognize the most likely organ and system affected by asking. If a patient is directly telling, then it is all right. If patient is not telling you, then you have to ask guided question pertaining to particular system, whether that is present or not. And the similar thing, you have to recall the relevant leading question pertaining to some system, so that you can at least pinpoint some organ system and pathology related to it. So every diagnosis have two parts, organ and pathology. Like organ is appendix and pathology is inflammation. Then the diagnosis become acute appendicitis. So you have to include two things in every diagnosis, organ and pathology. Like inflammation of gallbladder, then it becomes acute cholecystitis. You have to select the most likely pathology from a list of differential diagnosis. And as I mentioned, the history taking is an art. As you can see here, it's one of the beautiful painting. Similarly, as a clinician, as a surgeon, or as a physician, if you want to be a physician, then you can either make a picture of patient in a beautiful manner that every detail is depicted perfectly, and you will lead to a particular diagnosis, or you can do like this. For this, you have to perfect your craft. You have to see for any subtle variation, any subtle differences. So how the colors will be. And similarly, in surgery, what are the subtle variation in different systems, how the patient is talking, how the subtlety of different system is there, different history manifestation, how the patient is behaving. So you have to take every consideration, and then you have to paint a good picture like this. Or even a bad painter may end up painting like this, which is giving no clue whatsoever is happening. So as a clinician, I will promote you to become a good clinician like this. So you paint a good picture of the patient. Now coming to chief complaints, what are the usual chief complaints of an abdominal case? Usually, first and foremost is pain abdomen, then vomiting, then sensation of the fullness after meals, and vomiting of blood and passage of a black tarry stool. Our patient may present with jaundice. What will patient say? Yellowish discoloration of eyes and urine. And patient may present with loss of appetite, weight loss, or alteration of the bowel habit. Or finally, a lump in the abdomen. So pain has to be demonstrated properly, because most of the cases, in most of the scenario, you will find that most of the chief complaint is pain. Or even if the chief complaint is abdominal lump, it is usually associated with pain. So you have to be master in history taking and examination in case presenting with pain. So usually pain you'll demonstrate onset, duration, initial site of pain, radiation, shifting, character of the pain, periodicity of the pain. And there is a peculiarity in abdomen that duodenal ulcer recur periodically. The patient will give peculiar history that in every 2-3 months, after every 2-3 months, I get pain upper abdomen along with ulceration, along with feeling of burning sensation over the chest, and then it resolves spontaneously after 3-4 months. It again occurs. So this is typical periodicity of the duodenal ulcer, and there may be relation with food intake. Like before food intake, the pain may be aggravated in duodenal ulcer, while after food intake, it will be aggravated in gastric ulcer. And aggravating and relieving factors in terms of food, vomiting, and medicine should also be taken. There are two planes actually. and two lines here. The two vertical lines are basically mid-clavicular line to mid-inguinal point. There are two lines like this on both the sides, and there are two horizontal planes. One is the transpyloric plane, which is midway between xiphisternum and umbilicus, and transtubercular plane is from ASIS. You have to go 5 centimeter behind, which is usually location of the tubercle on the iliac crest. And once you join both these points, then it becomes transtubercular line. And when it's a plane-like thing, then you'll say it's a transtubercular plane. So can you see this picture? So this is the picture which is showing that the pain pertaining to particular quadrants. So if pain is in right upper abdomen, then it may be a gallbladder, which usually goes back to the back, and there may be pain on the stomach and duodenum, which manifest on the epigastric region. And the pancreatic pain will either be presenting on epigastric region or in left hypochondrium. Similarly, kidney on the flanks, small bowel, cecum, retroperitoneal structure on this umbilical side, and appendix and cecum in right iliac fossa, sigmoid on the left iliac fossa, and bladder, uterus, and adnexal structure on the hypochondrium. So these are the 4 quadrants. Now coming to detailed history of pain. So the patient feel pains while the tenderness is elicited by a doctor. So are you aware of this innervation of the anterior abdominal wall? There is a segmental innervation T7 to T10 is usually umbilicus location, and it goes till L1. So what happens is this is a dermatome. If the similar segment will supply some visceral structures, suppose there is appendix. If there is appendiceal pain due to distension, what happens is that visceral pain cannot be clearly depicted, and it is sometimes referred to a similar dermatomal supply. So this is the similar thing, like stomach gets segmental supply from T7 to T9. So if there is a visceral pain on this structure, not acute inflammatory pain or pain involving the parietal peritoneum, if just a visceral pain, then the manifestation will be on dermatomal supply of T5 to T7. And similarly, small intestine and colon T10 to L1, the appendix is supplied by T10. So usually the appendiceal dilatation pain will happen at the umbilicus, which will be vague. Somatic pain is sharply localized pain, and patient will be able to point the exact location of the pain. Visceral pain is just a vague pain, and patient may not be able to pinpoint what is the location. So similarly, I'll let you know what is the pathophysiology of appendicitis. First, what happens is that it's a tubular structure. If there is some fecalith or some worm or some inflammation which occludes the lumen of the appendix, then the appendix get dilated. So due to stretching of that pain, that is visceral pain. Because it's a visceral pain, not a somatic pain, then it will go to its particular dermatomal supply, which is around the umbilicus. Therefore, patient will have vague pain around the umbilicus, and once the distension becomes much more and there is a compromised vascular supply, then there may be some ischemia, and that will cause inflammation of the serosa and the peritoneum above. So the corresponding peritoneum will be irritated, and that will become somatic pain due to involvement of the parietal peritoneum there. Then the patient will be able to localize pain in right iliac fossa. This is the reason why there is shifting of pain in acute appendicitis. The specific characteristics of the abdominal pain. As I said, visceral pain arises from either ischemia, muscle spasm, or stretching of the visceral peritoneum, like say in appendix, if it is dilated only and there is no ischemia or involvement of the parietal peritoneum, then it will vaguely, poorly localized. The autonomic pain, which is deep and poorly localized and referred to the equivalent somatic distribution of the nerve root from T1 to L2. Say in case of appendix, it will go to T10, which is umbilical location. And when an inflamed organ touches the parietal peritoneum, then pain is localized to the segmental dermatome of the abdominal wall. Then it will touch the right iliac fossa site, and then it becomes the somatic pain. The pain in the parietal peritoneum may radiate to back or from along the dermatome, particular site of the pain or not. And then you have to demonstrate the time of onset and mode of onset, whether it is acute, subacute, or chronic in onset. And then severity. Remember, in severity, individual reacts differently to pain. Some young females may exaggerate the pain, while a well-built muscular laborer may hide the pain, that say that it is all right, nothing is happening to me. So you must understand that this is what I was talking about, understanding your craft of clinical diagnosis. So you must understand that individuals react differently to pain. What is a severe pain to one person, it may be a trivial pain to some other person. So there are some better indicators to ask about the severity of pain. Like, you must ask the patient, did the pain stop the patient going to the work? Did it make the patient go to bed or not? Did they try any analgesic for pain or not? And then did they have to call their doctors, or did it wake the patient up in the night and stop going the patient to the sleep? Or was it better lying down, lying still, or patient had to jolt around? So then you will proceed to the nature and character of the pain. Character of the pain is one of the most important finding to demonstrate in the pain, because it will directly lead to some sort of organ system or some sort of peculiarity, like whether it is vague aching pain or burning pain or throbbing pain. Inflammatory pain will have throbbing pain. And whether it is a scalding, pins and needle sensation, patient will have pins and needle sensation in peripheral neuropathy or neurogenic origin of the pain. Whether it is shooting or stabbing pain. So it is a sudden, severe, sharp and short-lived pain. And patient will describe in a similar manner. Sometimes patient may not be able to describe in similar manner. Then you will ask whether it was sudden, severe and sharp and short-lived or not. Then you will qualify it as a stabbing pain, which is usually seen in acute pancreatitis. Then another character is constricting pain. The patient will feel that the relevant part, say in angina, the chest is getting constricted. So sometimes patient may not even say that I am having pain. So patient will just say I am having tightness. बोले कि डॉक्टर साहब बहुत जकड़न जकड़न सा लग रहा है, ऐसा लग रहा है सीने में बहुत जकड़न है, भारीपन सा है. So that is the constricting nature. The character of pain is constricting, and patient is not even telling that I have pain. So you have to demonstrate the character of the pain very carefully. Or another one is colicky. Do you know what are the two important parameters of a colicky pain? What are the two important features? The two features of colicky pain are, it comes and goes in a sinusoidal way. It will increase and then decrease, increase and decrease. And it feels like migratory constriction, and it has gripping in nature. So gripping in nature should be there. Just a patient, the colicky pain occurs because there is obstruction in the hollow viscus. So what hollow viscus try to do is, it tries to remove the obstruction by contracting. So once there is a contraction, then pain will increase. And then there is ATP depletion, and smooth muscle goes into fatigue, and then it will relax, and then there will build up of the ATP, and then it will contract again. So it will keep on increasing and decreasing in a sinusoidal way. And when there is contraction, then patient will feel that gripping nature. But remember that a recurrent intermittent pain is not necessarily a colic. It must have a gripping in nature. Other character is twisting pain or just a pain. So this is from your favorite textbook. A pain of a small bowel colic comes in waves and disappears completely in minutes when the peristaltic wave ceases. And pain of biliary colic is insidious in onset, reaches the peak in half an hour, and does not ease off completely between the spasm. So actually, biliary colic is not a true colicky pain, because there is no complete muscular layer in gallbladder. You must have remembered from your histopathology class that when you used to draw the gallbladder wall, you used to make some fibrous layer in the muscular wall. That is called as fibromuscular layer. So because it's not a complete muscular layer in form of a smooth muscle layer, then a true peristalsis cannot occur. So actually, the biliary colic is not a true, sir. Small bowel colic and ureteric colic. Ureteric colic will have a true colicky pain. Small bowel obstruction will have a colicky pain here. So sudden severe short-lived pain. Structured aortic aneurysm will have a sudden severe pain and patient will go into shock. And these are the diagnoses which have a gradual progressive pain like colitis, appendicitis, and then movement of pain in terms of referral and migration. Radiation is extension of the pain to another side. Pain persists. Like if I have a pain in chest which is going to the left arm, but the chest pain is not disappearing, then it is radiation of the pain. Referred pain is that it is felt at a distant site, but there is no pain at the original site. It was never felt there. And what is shifting of pain? Of pain that it firstly felt at the original site of pathology, and then that disappears and it completely migrates to other site. Like shifting occurs in right umbilical site in acute appendicitis, and any special time of occurrence like daytime, midnight time, or any periodicity in terms of recurrence. So this is the picture showing referral of pain. Some diaphragmatic pathology here will refer to the shoulder region, right shoulder. Appendicitis pain will go towards the back because of the there is intraperitoneal fluid trickling along the gutters. Sometimes the perforated ulcer pain is located in the right iliac fossa region. So sometimes even there is a differential diagnosis of perforated ulcers in terms of acute appendicitis. And then you will demonstrate the precipitating and aggravating factors and relieving factor, how the pain is precipitated and how the pain is getting relieved or not. And associated pain, whether it is associated with sweating like in angina, or it is associated with vomiting like a pain in gastric outlet obstruction, there will be vomiting, or even acute gastroenteritis, the pain will be associated with vomiting. And whether there is cold extremity, fever or not, or in case of migraine, the cold extremity will be suggestive of shock, and there is hematuria or jaundice or not. Hematuria will be seen in right ureteric calculus or renal calculus, and jaundice will be seen in biliary pathology, biliary obstruction. So there is a mnemonic for that, Socrates. So he is the philosopher Socrates. The mnemonic is on his name. Site, S for site. So where exactly is the pain? O for onset. What were they doing when the pain started, and how was the onset? Whether it was insidious onset or it was acute onset, and what is the character of pain? What is the pain feel like? And the radiation of pain is synonymous with the movement of pain. It will also include referral of pain and shifting of pain and associated symptom, whether nausea and vomiting is present or not. And in most of the time, colicky pain is also associated with vomiting. And what is the time and duration? How long they have had the pain? And E for exacerbating or relieving factor. And what do you mean by S? Severity of pain. And if the patient is not able to tell you properly, then you ask the patient on a scale of 0 to 10, how will you grade your pain? So, or you can carry a visual analog score along with you, and you will show the patient, or you'll just ask the patient on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being the worst pain you can ever imagine, 0 being no pain, how will you rate your pain on this scale? So this is known as numeral rating scale.